You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. So we're now going to be joined on the telephone with Darren E Laws. He's going to be talking about a couple of books and how he's had a 9-year break in between the last one he's written. Firstly, thank you very much for talking to us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I was wondering if you could tell our listeners firstly a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Darren Laws. I am, primarily speaking to you today as an author, but about 7-8 years ago, I founded a publishing company called Caffeine Nights Publishing, and was more interested in publishing other authors, and taken, as you stated, a 9-year break in between novels to run that company. And in between time, have been working sort of late at night, putting the final finishing touches to my third novel, which is called Dark Country.
Well, I was wondering, could you actually tell us about your latest book?
Yes, Dark Country it's a thriller. It's a crime thriller. Caffeine Nights Publishing generally publishes books from British authors, and generally there's a British landscape in our books, the books that we publish. So many of them are set in areas such as Yorkshire and places where there's a lot of atmosphere. So they have a very British feel, but the books I write tend to sort of go against that slightly. And Dark Country is set in America. I guess I was influenced very much by a lot of American film and TV growing up, because I really should be writing about, the area in which I live, I guess, and the area in which I was brought up, which was in East London. But I generally find that I have but I tend to write more about stories that are set in America, and I guess that's just down to influences as I was growing up, as I say. So Dark Country is set in Texas, and it's set in Washington. So the main protagonist, or our main hero, is a woman called Georgina O'Neill. She's a FBI agent who's been going through many of her own struggles. In the first book that I wrote in the series, it was called Turtle Island, and that's where she was introduced. And she had a sort of semi-successful case that was, partially resolved, but didn't really leave her in a good light with her employees. Even though she sort of solved the case, there were still elements about the case which was very unsatisfactorily solved as far as the FBI were concerned. So the book Dark Country just picks up literally from that point, from where Turtle Island finished, although it is a standalone novel. And it plunges her into a new case, which is a bit of a cold case in a way. It's set over 50 years, with the first incident happening, as I say, 50 years ago. And it leads to the current case, which is of a young female country and western singer who's been kidnapped or has gone missing. So her case is to try and decide whether she's been kidnapped, it's gone missing, whether she's just decided to step back from the limelight.
Now, I understand, looking through the information you sent me, that the book that was before this, Turtle Island, is now available as an audio book as well, so listeners can access it that way before they get your latest book. Absolutely.
Turtle Island, we've had some great fun producing this. Again, because it has this very American feel, I wanted to get an actor or actress, or I say actor, who could capture the spirit of the book very much so, and we auditioned quite a few actors for the job, and we came up with a lady called Carmen Bobo, which is quite an unusual second name, but she just threw herself into the book and all the different characters in the book, and she'd done all the different voices, and she just really captured the flavour and the spirit of Turtle Island wonderfully, and she got Georgina O'Neill as a character, which was wonderful. She just made her come alive. in a way that your imagination does when you're reading a book, but she was able to do that with the audiobook itself. So it's good timing, really. So Turtle Island literally is just about to be released in an audiobook. I mean, the book itself, the first time Turtle Island came out was in 2002, so it's been around for a while, but it's taken a while to get to the stage where the audiobook's been made. And hopefully, if we have some success with the audiobook version of Turtle Island, we'll be doing an audiobook version of Dark Country as well.
So I understand it's also been an interesting and fun process researching your latest book.
Absolutely. As I say, there's three stories that are running through the book. The basis of the story is that in the late 1950s, a country and western singer called Amy Dark is kidnapped and then murdered. Her body's found, and her daughter escapes and has, been grown up in the sort of shadow of her mother's sort of stardom, really, in a way, as a country and western singer. She naturally becomes a country and western singer herself, and then lo and behold, she also disappears in what appears to be a sort of copycat case. And then 20 years later, her daughter, as I say, Susan Dark, she's about to sort of step into the international limelight with a very successful album, which is a sort of a family album. It's sort of like singing with her mother and her grandmother, using sort of recording technologies to bring them all together on one album. And just as that's about to happen, she disappears as well. So you have these three stories over a period of 50 years. So we had a lot of fun researching into, some of the civil rights aspects that were going on in America in that time, because there's a race element that's brought into the book, into just the general things such as the cars and the language and things like that, how various idioms and speech patterns have changed over that period of time. So we had quite a lot of fun getting that correct, and the editor I was working with kept me on my toes with that very much. She highlighted some facts that I had missed in my initial research, and it was such a good process to be able to work with an editor in that way and actually make a story that was far more authentic in the end.
Was there anything else you'd like to get over to our listeners?
Just if you like a good thriller, something that's a sort of edge-of-the-seat page-turner, I think Dark Country would be, something that you would like to read. You don't have to read or listen to Turtle Island to enjoy Dark Country, but again, if you do, then you will also pick up some elements of backstory that will make the whole thing even that bit more enjoyable. So hopefully, if your listeners like, to read a good thriller, Caffeine Nights, we do things, as I say, with a very British edge, but for my own books, they have this sort of American slant, and hopefully readers will enjoy that too.
Is there a website or contact details where listeners can find out more, or where they can get the books from?
Yes, indeed. www.caffeine-nights.com. That will take you to our main website. And from there, we have a website where you can actually buy the books as well. There's a direct link from there, which is caffeinenightsbooks.com. But you can go to them independently, or one will lead you to the other as well.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for letting our listeners know all about your latest book.
That's okay. Thanks very much.